Go live. Let me go on our computer. People might be able to hear us. I'm going on my phone just to check to make sure you guys are seeing what I'm trying to show you. Let's see. Please don't do that, buddy. They can hear every noise that you make. Oh, yep, look at there. There we are. We're live. Hello, everybody. I can see it on my phone. Oh, wait. That's from 24 minutes ago. Ah! Maybe not. No, it says it's live. Okay, we're good. Alrighty. I'm going to go flip back. The thing is I've never done Facebook Live on my computer before. It's always been on my Hey, there we are. Can you say hi, guys? Hi. So I've always done it on my phone, and so right now I can't see you guys asking questions like normal. I just see like my face, and then I see the presentation that I'm going to be doing for you guys. So what I'll do is I'll look at the end. I know we had a couple of people already ask some questions about, what's the favorite thing I've seen in Australia, or what's my favorite food there, things like that. So what I'll do is I'll just save those for the end, because then I'll be able to, guys, this face has come on. Then I'll be able to read them. So, thank you for joining us, and I hope it all goes well. I put my down under shirt back on because, let's be honest, I didn't leave the house yesterday, so it didn't get dirty. So I just put it back on because I think it's the perfect shirt for talking about Australia. As you can see, Australia is upside down in this on this shirt.
Is it upside down?
It is upside down.
Why?
Because Australia is in the southern hemisphere. So that means right here, like this is where we live, right here in America, and everything's reversed, so it's hard for me to know which way to go. All right, there we go. That's North Carolina right about. Wow, this is so weird going backwards. And then, so we're in the northern hemisphere, we're in the north of the equator, so everything south of the equator is in the southern hemisphere. So that is Australia. Right? Oh my gosh, this is really hard to do backwards. There it is, right there. Right there. And also, it's not behind me, Australia's right there. So, it's in the bottom half of the world, that is the southern hemisphere. So, and yeah, that's what we look like on the phone. But I'm going to turn that off to save our battery and so we don't get distracted. So, when we're doing that, okay, we're going to learn about Australia. Can you show everybody what you made today? What craft you made today to study Australia? So these are duckbill platypuses. And we don't have any glue, so we're going to have to work on that.
Yeah, because this...
We stocked up on paper plates and these brown paper bags for crafts because they're paper. I hate plastic. I hate wasting in general, but I know we're going to have to do a lot of it the next few weeks. So this is a good thing, brown paper bags and white paper plates. Actually, I don't think they say quack quack because they're not ducks. They swim in the water, under the water, and we're about to talk about them a little bit more. I'm going to show a picture in the presentation. So, yesterday we started off reading a book by Australian author Mim Fox. But if you want to listen to that book, you can go to yesterday's. Yep, there we go. I realized that the webcam flips everything backwards, so you guys, I can't really show you the book, but... Okay, so we're just telling secrets about Mim Fox over here. So, yes, we're going to talk about Australia. I'll show you the pictures from those books. I know there's a way to fix the camera settings, so I'll get that fixed before next week. So, like I just showed you, Australia is in the southern hemisphere, so they call it down under.
Down under.
Everything's the opposite. So, opposite weather. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. So right now it's a pretty spring day here. In fact, a lot of you probably are outside right now because it just got sunny for the first time. We've got warm weather. People are walking all around.
See, it's upside down.
So right there, it's going into fall, which means cold weather is on its way, whereas we're waiting for warmer weather here. Bryson,
did you know there were fires there?
That's not funny. People want to see your face, and they definitely don't want to hear the bouncing of a ball, okay? You don't have to stay here, but you don't need to be making noises, okay? Okay. So, here's an interesting part. about Australia. Sorry about that. No, don't say it anymore. I do not mean to say it. And a lot of kids probably can't say it, so that was definitely an accident. Because it's not really a good word. You should use a different word. But we won't go into that right now. A fact about Australia is that when you flush the toilet or when you have water in the sink, instead of going clockwise like it does here, the water swirls in the other direction. So the first time I was there, I remember my dad did this whole big experiment for us and videotaped it all of flushing the toilet.
Can you see it?
Well, yes, I have it on video somewhere, and maybe if I can find it, then I can post it to our group. We have a little group for Wanderlust Wednesdays where I'm going to put like the crafts. The groups. The crafts that we're working on. So yesterday we made some Aborigine art. You guys want to go? Go get the Aborigine art. So that was a nice project to do because we went walking. We went on a nice walk. We got some rocks. We washed them. We dried them overnight, and then we did Aborigine dot painting on them. And then we also took our paper towel and toilet paper rolls. It's kind of concerning when we get to these rolls right now since we don't have any replacements, but at least we have fun things for crafts. So we're going to show a video of the didgeridoo soon. Okay, another thing is hey, I want to ask I'm not going to be able to see people's responses. Let me see. I wanted to ask a couple of interactive questions right now. Let me just try this real quick. I'm going to see if I look at my Facebook live feed right this second. If maybe this stuff. I know you think you're being funny, but I'm trying to talk to these people. So I'm going to see if I can see any questions or any answers because I wanted to ask something. Let's see.
My mom is a travel agent.
Okay, camera setting is fine.
Do I want to see that?
He is holding up books. Everything's correct on our end. Oh, okay, good. Okay, so if you want to answer this question, I have a question for you guys. How long do you think it takes to get to Australia? So if you start here.
2 minutes.
You start here. Let's just say you're on the East Coast.
2,000 minutes.
If you start on the East Coast, and you fly all the way, well, actually, you probably go the other way. You go all the way across the United States, you go all the way across this big ocean, you get all the way down here to Australia.
What about
how long do you think it takes? Well, no, that's the Pacific Ocean. So if you have a guess, type it into the comment box, and I'll let you know if you're right. The comment box is where people can ask us questions. Uh-oh, I'm not seeing me right now. You're seeing the screen maybe? Okay, I'll go back. All right, so here we are. So that's the problem here is that I cannot see what you write. The answers. Well, I guess I'll just tell you then. Okay, it takes about 24 hours, a whole day, to fly from here
and also Thailand
to Australia and Thailand. We went to Thailand a few months ago, and it took us 24 hours. And on the way back, it actually took us 36 hours because from when we left our hotel until we got to our house.
We go to different.
Yeah, it was a really long trip. But guys, did you think it was that bad? No. What did you do the whole time?
Watch movies.
Watch movies. Like traveling far with kids is not as horrible as people think. No, it's not as horrible as people think it is. Like we did really great, but you guys got started younger, so that's part of the reason. But don't be afraid. You can do it. But yeah, 24 hours to get to Australia. But the first time I ever went to Australia, it took us over 36 hours. This was in 1988. We stopped in Fiji on the way and New Zealand because the planes didn't go that far.
What? That's weird.
Yeah, we had to stop twice. So.
We didn't. We just rode all the way over.
No, we stopped twice on the way to Thailand too, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, but.
Ow!
Oh. So, now, it takes 24 hours to fly to Australia, but when my mom and dad met, they met on board ship. They were sailing to Australia, and it took them 2 weeks to get across the ocean.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
So, it could take a lot longer, so 24 hours really isn't bad. Now, here's something else interesting about Australia. Did you know that they drive on the opposite side of the road there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys need to go and sit up in your rooms for this?
Okay.
Or do you want to be part of it? Okay, and then can you not copy everything I say?
Okay.
All right, cool. Let's see, what else I want to tell you. Okay, so let me tell you why I love Australia so much. I love Australia so much, like I just said, my parents met on the way there. But not only did my parents meet on the way to Australia, my grandparents met in Australia. So because my grandma grew up in Australia, and so she always was an Australian. Even Mimi, that's right. Even when she lived in the United States, she was still an Australian citizen. So they kind of lived both places for a long time. In fact, my aunt was born there, but eventually they ended up in the United States. And then my mom went to go visit her grandparents, and my dad was actually trying to move to Australia. He was moving to Australia, but then he met my mom, and then he was like, well, she's going back to America. I guess I better go back to America too. So that is why Australia is so special to me. And in fact, my great-grandfather, who I never met, even served in the government of Australia. He was in something called Parliament. So their government's different than ours, but I think that's a little advanced for this age group, so I'm not going to go into that. But I think that's pretty special. No, I got a lot of stuff to cover here, okay? And actually, I am a citizen of Australia and America. And the reason I was allowed to have dual citizenship is because that means you're a citizen of 2 countries. And the reason I was allowed to have that is because of my grandma being a war bride. So because she met my grandpa during the war. He was a soldier for America. She lived in Australia. They decided to get married. Then they had to be separated for a whole year while they waited for the war to end. And then she came by boat back. Yeah. To America, and the reason for her coming back was because she married a soldier, and therefore children and grandchildren of war brides were allowed to be dual citizens. So I'm very lucky because I got to live there for a year when I was in my 20s, and you have to have a visa, which is that's pretty. It's a special form to be able to go. I'm explaining, but to Australia, and you can only stay 3 months at a time for Americans now. But I'm very lucky because I was able to stay there longer. I was able to work easily there, and then I got to travel around the whole country. So real quick, I see some things popping up on the screen. I just want to make sure nobody has anything they're trying to tell me, like, hey, I can't hear you, or something like that. Okay. Cool. Nope. It looks like everything's good. So let me go back. All right. So now I'm just going to show you the presentation I did about Australia. Hold on. Let me go here. All right. Here we go. So this is exploring more about Australia. And that's my company name in the bottom. I'll show them at the end. Actually, and I had another picture of Sydney I was going to show them. So the city I know the most about is Sydney because that's where I lived for a while. That's where my grandma's from. I've had family that lived there. And so there's actually a picture of the Sydney Opera House. Actually, you want to show them real quick, guys? Okay, no, you can't see it.
You can't see it.
Yeah, so that's the Sydney Opera House.
It's your fault.
No, you gotta do it like that. There you go. So it's one of the most iconic buildings in the world. It was meant to look like sail ships, or the sails on the ships. So that's pretty cool. All right, we're gonna go back here now. So let's talk more about Australia.
Australia.
Okay.
I see Sydney.
That is Sydney right there. Really, well, that's where the pin is in this map. So real quick, I just want to tell you guys why I love traveling so much.
You travel.
Well, yeah, because I still travel, but why do I love it so much? Why do I want to sell it? Is because I think it leaves you speechless and turns you into a storyteller. I love writing about my travels, and I love talking about my travels, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to do that here while the kiddos are out of school. So, real quick, for those of you who don't know us, this is the Explore More family, and I'm Jen, and Bryson and Connor are in the photo. Bryson is holding his daddy's hand, that's Rob, and Connor is holding my hand. And that was us in Greece last year.
Greeceland.
Mm-hmm. Here are some of the cool places Bryson and Connor have gotten to go to. I think it's so important to travel with kids, and if you're able to, and these are some of the cool experiences these guys have had. This is Greece and Italy, and then swimming in the Blue Lagoon. They have their floaties on down in Iceland, and then that was us washing an elephant in Thailand last year. Now, here is me in Sydney. Like I said, Sydney is my favorite. Wait, what do you want me to say?
Is that where Nene and G met?
On that boat?
Yeah.
No, that's not the boat where Nene and G met. It was a much bigger one that went across the ocean. But you see these ferries in the background of the picture of my sister and I. We have the Sydney Harbour Bridge in the background.
Yeah.
That ferry is also the same ferry down here in this picture. And these ferries are all over the harbor in Sydney. And it's like kind of like a bus here. People ride the ferries on the water from place to place, which I love to do. And love. And so if you look down here in this bottom right, you see that big piece of land that's jutting out, and then the sailboat in front of it. There's a piece of land on the other side, and that's called the Heads, basically. And the water from the ocean comes up really strong between those two little pieces of land. Those are the two pieces of the land that open up that allow the water from the ocean into the harbor. And so when you're riding one of these ferry boats, the waves can get really, really big. And I've been on there when it's been really, really big before and made the mistake of standing outside and we're rolling around in the...
Did you get wet?
Oh, I got wet. Yes, I did.
Did you get soaking wet?
Yeah, and sometimes the waves are so big, I'm just like, where's the life jacket? It makes me nervous. But then some days it's completely calm. But yeah, it's a little scary when that happens. So
that'd be fun.
Here's some more pictures of me in Australia.
What birds are those?
Those are some of the very cool birds that they have in Australia.
That's her dad, that's her mom.
That's right. Those are my parents and my sister.
Her mom is dead.
Okay. Yes, she is. But this was a very special day that we had on the balcony of my uncle's apartment in Manly.
What's that?
Uncle's got. So I'm going to tell everybody. So the picture on the left is a cockatoo. So that is one of the native birds of Australia. And for some reason, the birds loved my uncle's porch. So on the right, that is a cockatoo. And a lot of you probably know the famous nursery song. Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree, Mary, Mary, king of the bushes, he. I'll spare you guys the rest of it. But that is...
famous.
Well, not really. Ooh. Sorry, I was making sure that everyone was able to. I was trying to see if I could see any input from people to make sure you guys were able to hear me, and it started playing the video, so I apologize. So then you have the lorikeets, or those really colorful birds down in the left. And then in the middle on the bottom, that is Bondi Beach, which is one of the most famous beaches in Australia.
Why?
And because it's so big and beautiful, look how big that beach is. And it's the perfect curve, and it's surrounded by a really cool area.
How much size is it?
I don't know the measurements, buddy. But I also wanted to show you, remember I was talking about the big waves?
Yeah.
Sometimes they have something called a nor'easter. It's the wind brings the waves. I don't know scientifically how to explain it or why, but a couple of times a year, I think it's usually maybe in the spring, these huge waves come off the coast of the east coast of Australia, and they come barreling in, and then when they hit, like the rocks, do you see the water is just squirting up into the air right there? That's how powerful these waves are. It looks kind of like fog, but that's a wave. And those people standing at the top of the rocks, can you believe that? I would not be standing there. I'd be so scared of falling off or being knocked down by the water.
Wow.
Because the water is so powerful. All right, so we're going to go to the next slide. Now, Australia is a continent, an island, and a country.
I think
Yes.
she told us that yesterday.
I did tell you that, the people that yesterday, but not everybody was on the call yesterday because, we had some technical difficulties. And it is also the world's smallest continent, and this shows you some of the famous parts of
It's the sixth
cities.
biggest continent.
Oh, you're right. Oh my gosh, Connor just corrected me. I've read two things and I just didn't even think about it. Yesterday I had read that it's the sixth smallest continent. Smallest, yeah. And then, so that's a good, we're going to have to post about that. I got to research that, or maybe someone can Google it. I know my dad's on here. He could probably tell me. Is it the smallest continent in the world or the second to smallest continent in the world?
Second.
Well, we'll find out by the
Second
end, okay?
smallest.
All right, so let's go on. This is the Australian flag. It is made up of the Union Jack, which is that red and white part at the top left. That is the Commonwealth. That is the Union Jack. And what that represents is the history of British settlement in the country.
Okay.
And then right below it is the Commonwealth Star. It has 7 points, and that represents the unity of the 6 states and territories of Australia.
6.
Then on the right, that is the constellation, the Southern Cross. That is a constellation of 5 stars that can only be seen from the southern hemisphere. And it's a reminder of where Australia is in the world. Remember I said it was in the southern hemisphere?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that is why they have that constellation there on their flag. And if you see over to the right, that is what the Southern Cross looks like in the sky. Now, I think you can see the Southern Cross from some places in the United States, like Hawaii, or maybe at the very tip of Florida. But for the most part, and that's only during certain times of the year, but you can always see the Southern Cross in the sky from the Southern Hemisphere, or in Australia, in its position in the Southern Hemisphere. So now we're going to talk about Aborigines, and these are the types of art we worked on yesterday, because these are the indigenous people of Australia. That means they were there before anybody else came, and they have their own culture. And
They paint on themselves for parades.
Not for parades, for their ceremonies, and they also have a really deep connection with the earth. And they have really cool things like didgeridoos and boomerangs. They
show the didgeridoos.
Okay, you want me to flip back to us so you can see the didgeridoo?
Can you give me my didgeridoo?
Hold on. Oh yeah, here's. So Connor's didgeridoo was made out of 2 toilet paper rolls. And then we have.
It's 2?
Yeah, they're put together.
How did you do that?
I just stuck them together. And so we did the dot art on top of it. All right, we're going to do a real didgeridoo playing, okay? And then here are our rocks. So I think this has got a lot of color in it. Good job. All right, we're going to go back.
Only two colors in it.
So that is what an Aborigine looks like. And then, okay, stop so people can hear. Okay, because we're about to play a real didgeridoo. And so that is a representation of the dot art that the Aborigine people are known for. And then by the grass, you see that's a didgeridoo. That's what it looks like. And then the boomerang. You want to go upstairs and get your boomerangs, guys? Well, I can't pause it. So they're gonna get their boomerangs, and I'm gonna show everybody what it sounds like to listen to a didgeridoo.
That's it for now.
All right, the kids asked to be done with that part, so now we are moving on. Okay, so well, let me tell you a quick story, actually. First of all, we're going to go back to the screen so that the boys can show you their boomerangs. So, where's your boomerang? Show them. Yeah. So, but I want to tell you a quick story about the didgeridoo. So, a lot of times, in the touristy places, actually,
what does church take place?
Make sure you can see me. Yeah, there we go. A lot of in the touristy places, they'll have an Aborigine playing, like places where a lot of tourists are.
What are tourists?
Tourists, people who come to visit a country from another place. So they'll have an Aborigine playing the didgeridoo. And so one of those places is down in the Harbour in Sydney. And so my mom and I were in a gift shop shopping, and all of a sudden we heard this noise. I think Aunt Allie was with my dad. So my mom and I heard this noise of this. There was this really great didgeridoo music, and all of a sudden we heard. And my mom and I looked at each other and we were like, Dad. We knew it. We knew that my dad had gone and asked the didgeridoo player if he could play, and some reason thought he could play the instrument, and it was horrible. So I will also look for that video and post it in our group, okay? So back to the presentation. So this is called Uluru, and some people, okay, try to stop for now. So some people call this used to be called Ayers Rock. That's what the people who colonized Australia called it, but recently they switched the name back. And so Uluru is a sacred place for the Aborigine people, and it's one of the world's largest monoliths. And a monolith, well, that's what I'm going to tell you, is a large single upright block of stone. So that is one big rock right there. Let me tell you one of the most amazing things about my time. I visited Ayers Rock when I was there in 2001.
Did you scoot down it?
I did not scoot down it. It's way too big for that. Some people, they used to let you climb on the rock.
Oh.
But the Aborigine people think it's a sacred place, and they didn't like that. And so I made the decision not to climb it because I thought that was the right thing to do. So I walked around the base of it, and I thought it was just going to be like one big rock, not, walk around the edges. But what happened was as you're going around every little piece, it's like every time I turned a corner, it was a different feeling. Like there were some places where there were actually like water holes within the rock, and there were places where cool plants were growing, even though it's a very arid area. So walking around it was a very cool experience. Right. So
Since we have a Chick-fil-A by our house, now a big pie is of dough that kind of look like the big pie.
you were very right. We live near where the new Chick-fil-A is going up in Cornelius, and there is a big pile of red clay, and he's saying it looks like that.
It's
and it
not
does,
red clay.
but this is way bigger. Way, way bigger.
How
All right, so
big?
now these are Australian animals. I think we showed our platypuses already that we made. Yeah. So down there, the little guy is swimming under the water with. Sorry, he just touched that screen.
That's an alligator.
Well, no, because you touch the screen, you can't touch the screen because it actually moves. So we'll start at the top. Well, we'll start right under where it says Aussie animals. That's an emu. That's a lot like an ostrich.
Ostrich.
Yeah, but I think they only have them in Australia. And then same with kangaroos and koalas, they're only in Australia, which to the parents listening know that my little fundraiser that I was supposed to have this Friday got canceled. So I am just trying to raise a few dollars for these animals that were so affected by the wildfires. Yeah, okay, but wildfires this year. The droughts in Australia are a huge issue. It's a very dry country, and they deal with.
No, actually, my mom was meant to say continent.
Continent? What's a dry continent in country? Yeah, you're right, both. And they just asked if they could donate a few of their dollars to the wildlife. So I think that's an excellent idea. We will definitely do that. And but because the country's so dry, they have a lot of fires there called bushfires, and they're actually kind of part of the environment. And some of the plants actually depend on the fires to regenerate. But last year was the worst drought in Australia's history, so the fires got really, really bad. And the eucalyptus trees, which is what koalas hang out,
got burned down.
Well, they burn really fast and were really intense, and so a lot of koalas got hurt. And we're just trying to raise money. Well, no, let's not say that. To help them recover, because there's just such unique wildlife in Australia, and we just don't want anything to happen to them. We want them to survive for years and years to come. So there's a cute little koala with baby koala in the tree, and you see the duck-billed platypus, and then there's also the wombat and the baby wombat down in the corner.
Which we do not know what they are eating.
Okay, now this is crazy. So crocodiles in Australia, they have the largest crocodiles in the world. They're called saltwater crocodiles, and they can grow to be 23 feet and over 2,200 pounds. That is huge, okay? Now, I'm going to push play on here. This is called the Jumping Croc Tour in Australia. And I actually did one of
Can you
these
please
courses.
push the video now?
Oh, excuse me. Can you please not talk to me like that?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to go to the end where he starts jumping out. And I did kind of do some research to make sure that this wasn't viewed as an unethical thing to do to animals, because I did have that thought.
Ferocious, which is considered to be the most aggressive.
From what I can understand, it wasn't. Oh, go away. Go away. Whoa. Look at that thing. It's a beast.
What is that?
Can I see what a boat?
It's a pretty big boat. I don't think it would. Can you believe they can jump out of the water like that?
Why are they doing that to him?
They're trying to get him to jump out the water so people can see how strong and...
When you're doing your fishing and that, but
Uh-oh.
here I just don't like to have all that gurgling, bubbling noises all the time.
There it goes.
Ooh, that's strong.
I know. All right. So Australia Day. Australia Day is celebrated on January 26th. So what day do you think that's like in our country?
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day? St. Patrick's Day is when we celebrate America?
No.
When do we celebrate America? And there's like fireworks.
And a Happy New Year.
There are fireworks?
January.
No, it's July 4th. You know July 4th?
Why does it say January?
Well, because that is when Australia celebrates their nation.
No.
So, what? That's okay. We'll fix it later. So just like we learned here that Christopher Columbus helped discover America, Captain James Cook helped discover Australia, and later Captain Arthur Phillip on January 26th of the year I forgot to write down arrived in Sydney Cove, and that is why to this day January 26th is they celebrate Australia Day. Now here's a fun story. Let me go back to the screen real quick, so I'm going to tell a story about my grandma. So my grandma's maiden name was Day, so her name was Edna Day. Her brother's name was well, we called him Len. What was his actual name? I forget. Remember? His name was Lyndon. We called him Joe. Anyway, so he was Lyndon Day, and his wife was named, well, before they got married, her name was Australia, because she was born on January 26th. They're like, well, she was born on Australia Day, we're going to name her Australia. Now, she had a different last name, but when she married my grandma's brother, whose last name was Day, her name became Australia Day. So her birthday was on Australia Day, and her name ended up being Australia Day. I know. We'll go look for it. I just think our dog decided to hang out under us, and he's not feeling so hot.
He's snoring.
All right, so
He's sleeping and snoring and
yeah.
relaxing.
Now we're going to show a picture of what the money in Australia looks like. That doesn't look like our money, does it?
No, not a single.
Not a single bit. And in fact, they have Queen Elizabeth on their money.
Who's
and
that?
She is the Queen of England, because they're part of the Commonwealth.
$100.
Yes, $100.
I wish I could have all that on my receipt money.
Uh-oh. You know what? I just
I
realized everyone's looking at me and looking at the screen. Okay, that's what the money looks like. All right, so they have a lot of coins, and in fact, they have some heavier coins. So instead of having a $1 bill and a $2 bill, they have a $1 coin and a $2 coin. And so their first bill that they start with is a $5 bill. All right, now.
Why did they start with 5? Then they go to.
All right, so here are some of the Australian sports. It's not.
I see soccer.
There's cricket, which is a game played with a bat, but it's not baseball. And in fact, I don't even know how to explain it to you, but it's not baseball, I can tell you that. And then on the top right, that's called
Soccer.
That is called Aussie rules football. So it's completely different than our football. Our football is completely different than everybody's, but this isn't soccer or American football. It's Aussie rules football. And as you can see, they're not wearing nearly enough protective gear. And then down in the corner, those kids are playing a game called, it's got a Aboriginal name, but I have to look it up because I can't remember. Oh yeah. So it is called Boogala. Boogala. Yeah.
Boogala.
So I am going to try to look for actual video of that game being played because I think that it's too confusing for me to explain, but it's a good game for kids to play, so that might be something that kids could play with their families right now.
What else?
All right, so now we're going to talk about Australian foods. Now this part, in the top left right there, that is my favorite Australian food. That is an Aussie meat pie. And I don't even really like meat, but I love an Aussie meat pie. And you know what I really like on top of my meat pie? Mashed peas and mashed potatoes with ketchup on top. Yummy. It's delicious. Don't knock it till you try it.
Wait, which one is it? Is it that one?
Yes, that's the one I like the most. That looks like it has a bite already out of it. So now, on the other side are fish and chips, which people kind of think of that as an Australian thing, but
It's actually London.
well, no, yeah, I mean, sorry, I think it's a British thing. That's what I meant. Thank you, an English thing, but it's actually very popular in Australia too. Now, as far as desserts are concerned, the bottom, the one with all the fruit on top, that's called pavlova, and I think it's delicious, but I think it's very hard to make. So, but you know what? We're about to have a lot of time on our hands, so maybe this will be my chance to try to make a pavlova. I am a slightly better baker than I am a cook, so maybe I can handle that. And then right there, I thought the kids would like, that's called fairy bread. So what they do is they take a piece of bread and they put butter on it and then just put sprinkles all over it.
I do not like butter.
Okay, well, you don't have to do that. I think you like it more than you realize because there's in a lot of foods and it tastes better when there's butter. Now, the picture, the jar there, that's called Vegemite, and that is a yeast, it's a dark brown yeasty food spread. So I found a video of kids trying it. So here we go.
I saw that.
We gotta go through a video here.
Today we're gonna try
what Australian kids eat for breakfast. My name is Camila and I'm 8 years old.
My name's Maya. I am 6 years old. Evan and I'm 6. Otis and I'm 6.5.
What do you guys like to eat for breakfast?
Ice cream. Waffles.
Cereal.
Waffles.
Hi, my name's Jemima. This is what we eat for breakfast in Australia. Toast with a little bit of butter.
What is butter?
We put butter on the toast and we get a knife and some Vegemite and we put it on top.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
This is going to be hard.
This is gonna be great.
Do we take this? Yeah, we take the thing out. No, we don't put that. Oh.
Ooh, this looks interesting.
Okay. Knife. I never made food before. Oh god, Evan, you're putting some on your hand. I need more butter. You just have to scoop them all around.
I like butter.
I like butter too. And I'm a feeling you need some more for it to taste pretty well.
Spreading, spreading, spreading.
Thin layer.
Okay. This is Vegemite. Oh my god, it smells terrible.
It smells like vinegar.
Does it have vinegar in it? It looks like chocolate. Chocolate, but smells awful than chocolate. It actually feels like taking out Nutella. Oh my god, Evan. Seriously?
It reminds me of like jelly and butter sandwich.
Well, if you spit a lot, it looks like a chocolate sandwich. Look at the person. Okay. Ugh, that tastes like salt.
It looks like chocolate, so I think it's gonna taste good.
Okay, are you sure about this, Evan? Okay, here we go. That is super good.
Kind of like toast, butter, and chocolate.
Tastes like salt and pepper. Me too, I agree.
Taste just the Vegemite side, because you're just eating butter now.
I like butter.
Still good.
I ate the dark side. No, you did not. There's one huge gap over there. Don't stuff your face into like.
It tastes sour.
Yeah, it's not like chocolate anymore.
It tastes sweet, sour, and bitter.
I think this tastes yucky. Yeah, me and Evan do not like. We only like the butter.
This is how we would eat it in Australia. A little bit of butter and then a bit of Vegemite on top. Oh, that's much darker.
Good.
Delicious.
I quit. I'm gonna close this thing. I'm never gonna eat that again.
Me neither. We like Vegemite.
I like the gross.
All right, well, I'm going to come back to the screen, but for those of you who want to contact me about any questions about Australia or future travel when we're all able to leave the house again, here is my information. And then also, if you just want to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, and we have on Facebook, there's a new group called Wanderlust Wednesdays. Explore More Wanderlust Wednesdays, which of course next week we'll be back on Wednesday, but where I'll post like crafts associated with the country that I am talking about.
Australia!
Well, yeah, Australia this week, and it'll be a different one next week.
Like what?
All right. So, well, we're not quite done, so it says thank you, but yeah, thank you. But here we're going to go back to me real quick, so we're going to talk about a few of the Australian sayings, because they speak English in Australia, but
it's a different kind of English.
No, it's not a different kind of English. They just have some words that we don't use here. And so they like
Can you speak a word because you a little bit of what you lived in Australia?
Yeah.
Can you say one of the words?
Well, I will, but my accent's not that great. But one thing Australians do is they shorten every word. So, for instance, my mom used to always say, "You want some brekkie?" She didn't even have an Australian accent, but she kept that from, maybe because of her mom, my grandma. So brekkie is breakfast. Aussie is an Australian. When they say hello, they don't say hello. They say good day.
Good day.
Good day, yeah.
Good day.
And then when they want to tell you you did something good, they'll say good on ya.
Good on you.
Yeah, it's a well done or good job. And instead of food, they'll say taka.
Taka? Like
They
taka.
say eat your taka. And instead of,
lips.
well, you have really big lips. And instead of candy, they say lollies.
Lollies? Like lollipop.
Yeah, yeah. And then
But it does have a pop in it.
instead of
Popcorn.
true. So
How do they call popcorn?
instead of how do they they call popcorn. And they call they call cookies biscuit. So if someone says, "Oh, would you like a biscuit?" They don't mean like a doughy piece of bread that you eat in the morning time. They mean a cookie. Yeah. All right. So that is all we got for the presentation, and we had to use double stick tape on the platypus, so it was sticking to my arm. But in case you're new to the video, this is our duck-billed platypus puppet for today. So I'm going to read, for those kids who are still interested, I'm going to read this book about Australia.
So show me
Yeah, and so it'll give us...
show us to us.
Well, why don't you guys stand over there, and that way you guys can see it along with the other kids that are watching, okay? All right, and I think, so yesterday, I'm going to look at the screen real quick and see if it's, yeah, it's not backwards.
It says
I think it's not backwards because now I'm using the laptop instead of the phone, so I'm glad somebody told me that. I think it was Elizabeth. There's a lot of words, so you don't need to see that. Yeah, well, I'll kind of go through it fast. But Australia is an island. It is also a country. Australia is located in Oceania. It has lots of special traditions and celebration. People in Australia work many kind of jobs. Some are farmers or national park rangers. Others are bankers, hotel managers, or teachers. Oh, by the way, teachers, they wear uniforms there. So that's something interesting, that not all the schools here wear uniforms, right?
Some of our schools do.
Some of them do, but they're all of them wear uniforms. Australia has some incredible places to visit, like desert. Sorry, everyone. Beaches. They have some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and just in Sydney, just the harbour side itself is just, there's so much water side there that it's just everywhere you turn, it's beautiful.
This one.
Mountains and rainforests. It's also known for its unusual animals and plants, which we talked about that. Australian families often enjoy camping and spending time in nature. Australians like to play sports. They also value music, literature, and other types of art. Australia is a fascinating country to explore, and we know that because we just explored more Australia. All right. So it's showing you that it's a little smaller than the United States, and this is what we talked about. Australia is the only country in the world that is also a continent. It is the largest island in the world. So, and this doesn't tell us if it's the biggest, if it's the smallest or the second to smallest continent. So we still got to find that out. Most of Australia is flat, but the country does have some mountains. The Blue and Snowy Mountains are two examples, and I've been to the Blue Mountains, and I really, one of my favorite memories from going to the Blue Mountains is there a wildlife park on the way out, and I hope it survived the fires, but it's called Featherdale Park, and that's the first place that I got to hold a koala. I need you to put that down, okay? Okay, because when they hear it through it's really loud, okay?
Oh.
So just stop, we're just almost done, and then you can play with your boomerang, okay? Okay, people first arrived in Australia about 50,000 years ago, so those are the Aborigines. These early people lived off the land. They learned to survive in the harsh Australian outback. Then in the 1600s, that's the part of Australia that's really, really dry in the middle, so not as many people live there. In Australia, almost everybody lives around the coast. There are people in the middle, but most of the people live on the coast.
Like you.
I'm skipping around, but beginning in 1788, Britain started 6 colonies in Australia. Many of the early settlers were criminals or prisoners from British jails. I didn't talk about that. They actually sent all the prisoners from England over to Australia.
Why?
Because they were trying to get rid of them. So they sent them off to Australia, far, far away. And you would think, would you want to know that you were part of from a prison, that your family came from prisoners that were sent to Australia? No, but everyone wants to, they like it if their family was one of the original settlers, even if it was because they got sent for a crime. But a lot of times it was for a crime that wasn't even that bad. Maybe they stole food for their family or something like that, so then they would send them to Australia. It wasn't for people who had done really, really bad stuff. At first, relations between the Europeans and the Aboriginal people were peaceful, but these groups had conflict over who owned the land. In 1901, the colonies of Australia joined together and they became the Commonwealth of Australia, and those colonies became states. During the 20th century, people moved to Australia from all over the world, including my dad. He tried to move there, but then he met my mom and he came back.
To Savannah.
To Savannah, yeah. Australia is a democracy. The country is also part of the British Commonwealth. The capital of Australia is Canberra. And Julia Gillard was the first female prime minister of Australia. And she was in office from 2010 to 2013. And Bryson's showing you,
No, don't tell them.
Okay. It's an artifact from Morocco, not Australia. I like this. In Australia, all Australian citizens over the age of 18 must vote in elections. How awesome is that? If everyone had to vote, that would be great. Everyone would be more involved. All right, I'm not going to get into the specifics of their government, but basically they have a parliament versus our Congress, and my great-grandfather was part of that. Okay, buddy, I need you down, because I can't show a book when you're on my lap. This shows the money, which we went over in our presentation. Oh, it says in 2016, over 8 million tourists visited Australia from other countries.
What's Charles?
Now we're having to visit it through our computer because nobody can really fly many places right now, but hopefully when everybody can fly again, everybody will flock back to Australia because it's an amazing place to visit, and they really need our help because they had a lot of problems from those wildfires, and
Like
we
what?
want to help.
I could give us $3.
You're going to get your $3?
Yeah.
That's very sweet. I will definitely.
I'm not.
You're not going to?
No. I'm gonna use it for my toys.
No.
Yeah.
Australia is home to many endangered animals, including the mountain pygmy possum and the orange-bellied parrot. Yeah, these are the wildfires we were talking about. They have them all the time, but last year they were way worse than normal because they didn't get as much rain as normal.
What are those poles?
These are solar panels down here. Solar panels.
Oh.
Yep. Okay, so G just came back through and he said Australia is the smallest continent. By the way, if you do have any questions, we just got a few more pages of this book, but if there's anything you want to ask, go ahead and type it in the box because I can see it now and then I'll be able to answer it for you. Australia's biggest city is Sydney. It is home to over 4.5 million people, and I'm sure it's more than that by now because apparently this was just written maybe in 2017. But Sydney is where I lived when I was there. This is my favorite city in the whole world. Another cool thing I got to do when I was there is that Sydney Harbour Bridge that we saw pictures of by the lighthouse. You know, the big bridge?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm looking at Connor. He's behind the computer. I got to climb on the top of it. And that was really cool, too.
Were you scared?
No, because they strap you on. They have these like really big metal
on the top
cables.
Like on the top things that like the very, very top.
Yep. And in fact, I'll fill out the photos when we're done, and then I'll also take a few photos of my photos and put them on the Facebook page. Many immigrants arrived after World War II. In the 1970s, lots of refugees from Southeast Asia traveled to Australia. So really, they have quite a mixing pot there. They have people from all over, kind of like in the United States. Everyone looks a little different, which I love when people come from different places because you get to learn about so many different places. Sorry. Come here. I know, but I don't want to hear that noise because it's going to be annoying for people. So please stop dropping the pencil.
Like old people.
I doubt there are any old people listening other than your grandfather. Here's a cool thing. Okay, it's talking about how like 89%, so most of the people live along cities. Along the coast. But, there are some people who live in the middle of the country. It's very hot and very dry there. And in the town, the outback, which is their part where a lot of people don't live because it's very dry, they have homes, hotels, and restaurants underground in this city called Coober Pedy. Yeah, and this helps beat the extreme heat there. So here's one of these cave homes.
Is there water? Wait, can I see? I can see it. Is there any water?
Well, go on the other side.
Is there any water?
Well, yeah, they get water from other places, but they really don't get a lot of water out there. Okay?
I'm happy eating. What's that?
All right. Aboriginal beliefs. We were talking about the Aborigines. Australia's Aboriginal people have their own religious beliefs. Each tribe has its own beliefs and legends about dream time or the creation period. Here's some of that really cool rock art. So this is a little better than our rock art. Ooh. Well, that's not good. That doesn't look good. I'm trying to.
Not this.
Sure,
Mommy.
there we go. Here's the rock art.
Mommy.
Yes. Australia does not have an official language, although English is the common language, but they have funny things they like to say. Oh, yeah, I didn't talk about a Barbie. What do you think a Barbie is?
What, Ma?
A barbecue. So they'll say, throw another shrimp on the barbie. Because they cook the barbie. Yep.
I thought you said Barbie like you play with it.
Oh, and it says some Aboriginal words have become part of the English vocabulary, including boomerang, kangaroo, and koala. No. All right. Australia Day, we talked about that too, is January 26th. The holiday marks the beginning of British occupation in Australia, which isn't good for everybody. That was a bad thing for the Aborigines.
Why?
Because they had conflict. I mean, they thought it was their land, and then somebody else came and said, no, we're taking this land. Today, people celebrate their nation with fireworks, concerts, and barbecues. Oh, they're talking about some of the famous artists in Australia, and it says Kin Dunn is another Australian painter. His artwork uses bright colors. It often shows Australian landmarks and animals. My family loves Kin Dunn, and in fact, this shirt that I'm wearing is a Kin Dunn graphic design. So he's pretty awesome. And I have a lot of his other stuff. And in fact, in Maddie's room, there's a poster of his artwork hanging in her room. This is Cindy on it. And this is showing the Aussie rules football that we talked about.
Can you say it?
You know, we did talk about the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest reef system in the world, and you can access it from the coast of Australia, and there's snorkeling and diving there, and you can see over 1,500 species of fish there. So that's another great reason to visit Australia.
I wouldn't want to go in there.
Here's some food, and it talks about Vegemite being so famous. It's a salty dark brown paste usually eaten on bread, and then the yummy pavlova. Maybe we'll try to make one of those this weekend. And that's all I got for you guys. So thank you very much for being here with us today. And I hope everyone is dealing with being home more than usual. And I hope that if we're still at home next week, which likely we will be, that you tune in to join us on Wednesday for Wanderlust Wednesday at 2:30. Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
You want to say bye? You want to wave?
Bye.